Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 12 of the Tricks and Traps Speedrun. So I'm coming into today rated 1031, and hopefully we'll have another episode of Tricky and Trappy Chess. Let's hop into the first game. Okay, first opponent, playing Bacher something something. And waiting for the first move. Joined 1 day ago. I'm not sure if we're getting a game here. Game will auto abort in about 30 seconds. Okay, a slightly slow start to the episode. Uh-oh. Poor connection. But the countdown, like abort timer went away. Okay, game aborted. Let's try this again. This time playing bar to bed. And we have knight to f3. Let's play knight c6. This is not a gambit just yet. But this is, like, I think it's called the Black Mustang. And white plays e4, which actually allows me to play this pretty rare gambit. This is called the Colorado Gambit. I'm not sure of the history of why it's named the Colorado, but the point is to deflect the e-pawn away from the center, hopefully try and recapture with the bishop, and then take over the center. Yeah, white gives back the pawn. This is probably a fine way to play for white, is just to focus on developing. Knight e5 is breaking some principles of moving the same piece twice and being a little bit slow to develop other minor pieces. So I'm inclined to take and then play e6. Looks pretty solid. Now, one thing, whenever you move your f-pawn early, it does open this diagonal, so I do have to watch out for potential queen h5 check ideas. But in this case, white plays it, but I have bishop g6 or pawn g6. Both moves look very reasonable. Pawn g6 actually kind of traps in my bishop. At the same time, it maybe prepares to fianchetto. So what do I want to do? I think I'd rather play bishop g6. Attacking the queen, blocking the check. And I was still threatening the pawn, so white retreats, essentially losing a couple tempi and giving me time to develop. So got both bishops developed. Really just looking to play knight e7 and castle, block the check with the pawn. Yeah, now there is some tension between the bishops. I mean, knight e7 is probably the most logical looking move. Develop and reinforce g6. If I want to be ultra aggressive, I mean, there is queen h4, which I kind of like more, actually. So I do allow white to take with check, and then I'll accept double pawns. And there is potential for the queen to sometimes swing over to attack multiple things, either to d4 or b4. I wanted to say another nice thing about this opening is the half-open f-file. Very often, once I castle, I can use f-file to attack. Now my opponent disconnected, so this might be cut short. Yeah, once the game is started, there's no auto-aborting. It's just auto-resignation, I guess. Got a few more seconds. Oh no, my opponent. Okay. Can I play a full game of chess this episode? Real quick, we'll check the eval. Black is already better here. Is queen h4 the best move? Knight e7 is slightly preferred by the engine. There's actually a lot of playable moves here. Engine also says taking is fine. But yeah, this was looking quite comfortable. And if white plays g3 to attack the queen, I can slide into h3. And then, yeah, white's kingside is weak and castling is not legal. So anyway, let's move on and we'll try and find an opponent who wants to play a full game. This time we have king's pawn, so we have a Vienna, so no Stafford Gambit. I'll play knight f6. Maybe white will play, yeah, the Vienna Gambit. Now, the best way to meet the Vienna, as far as I understand, is to play d5, which is just a direct counter in the center. And we are following some theory. There's actually a couple moves here for black. f5 is one option. But I'm going to play the other option, knight c6, which I think is a bit trickier against low-rated players, because there's ideas of knight to d4. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I can play knight d4 right away to attack the queen, attack the pawn, and then take the knight next move. Yeah, it's already getting tricky. I am temporarily down a piece. But after pawn takes knight, I do defend, and this looks pretty nice. Bishop f5. The queen defends a knight, the knight defends a bishop. c2 is about to fall. I guess I have to be a little bit careful of queen takes b7 and maybe eventually bishop to b5 check. So if queen takes b7, I might start with rook b8. Oh, there's kind of a pretty line though. Queen takes b7, knight takes c2, king d1, and then knight e3. But okay, maybe I can show that after the game. Yeah, knight takes c2 will win the rook, but then my bishop's attacked. Oh, there's a very tricky idea here. I think I'm going to start with knight takes c2. Yeah, let's play knight takes c2. And then I actually want white to take on f5 so I can play knight e3 with the fork. Actually a pork because it's a pin as well. So I think the way to induce queen takes f5 is to play g5. g5 might be one of the best moves too. Because if I take the rook, then takes and my knight is stuck. Yeah, let's play g5. There is queen a4, but then c6, and I'm okay. Okay, white does walk into this, so that's a feel-good tactic. White resigns. The opponent realized their doom. So pretty quick game. It's nice to actually play a full game without my opponent abandoning it. 11 move win. Let's check real quick with Engine. Was g5 actually best? Okay, queen d7 was best. Black is winning here with many moves. g5 is one of the best moves, actually, along with bishop c5, also very playable. And yeah, the line I was looking at in the game was queen takes b7, knight takes c2, king d1. I have the same idea, knight e3, which doesn't hit the queen, but hits a bishop, and yeah, black continues initiative. So it would probably be too dangerous to take the rook, because bishop b5, and then, yeah, my king gets a bit iffy. So anyway, it's a nice little opening trick, and this is, I guess, an opening trap that my opponent walked into. Knight takes e4 is not the best move because of this line, knight d4, and then this is actually already like crushing for black. Eval bar showing almost -4 in black's favor. Okay, let's keep it going up to 1050. Play another. This time I'm white. And let's play e4. Alekhine. Oh, what do I want to do against Alekhine? I'll play knight c3. The main move is pawn e5. But usually when black plays Alekhine, they want you to play e5 and potentially overextend. c6 is slightly strange. Does maybe prepare to meet e5 with knight d5. It's kind of a combination of an Alekhine and a Caro Khan. I think now I will play pawn e5. And if knight d5, I can take, give black some double pawns, and then reinforce the center. I guess there's also potential to play bishop c4. But black moves back to the starting square. Okay, let's just control the center. We'll have fluid development with the bishops. Pawn d5. And now it's a question, do I want to take en passant? I think there's some reasons to try and open the center, but I do like maintaining the pawn on e5. So let's just keep developing bishop d3. Maybe I'll go for f4 and really try and build up a nice center. Yeah, especially here, pawn f4 is now threatening pawn f5. I'm not trapping the bishop, but I feel like it's becoming a theme in this game that I'm attacking my opponent's minor pieces and they're moving back to their starting squares. Now I would like to play e6 to try and open the king, but not sure if it's worth giving away a pawn. So when in doubt, let's just develop. Look to castle. Not going to burn too much time here. If b4, I can reroute the knight. And now it's probably time to sack a pawn. And black can take twice. But the whole point is to open the center, and especially open up lines to get to the black king. So if takes and takes and takes, the plan is to play knight e5. And that will threaten bishop g6 with force mate. The black plays f6. Okay, so we have a pretty funny position. All of black's pieces are still on their starting squares on the back rank. I do want to somehow get a queen or bishop to this square. I'm looking at knight moves like knight h4, even knight e5. Knight h4 looks pretty straightforward. To unleash the queen, also maybe looking to play knight g6. Also maybe looking to play bishop e2. And material's still equal, but this is a complete domination. So queen b6. Okay, so black is still fighting. The king has an escape route. Black is threatening to take with a fork. So I could play bishop e2. I could play knight e2. I could sack the pawn. I could play bishop e3. Let's go for bishop e2. Multi-purpose, defending and attacking. Okay, I'll take the pawn with check. Black is maybe threatening this. Let's keep making threats of my own. Hitting the rook and the bishop. And if b4, it would hit my knight and rook, but then I have knight a4 to counterattack the queen. So life is still very good. The bishop is actually trapped. I guess it's a question, do I take the bishop or the rook? Probably the rook. And then maybe the knight's coming to f7. Okay, here I can take the pawn. Again, attacking the queen, so black doesn't really have time to take my rook. My knight and rook are attacked. I think it's better just to save the knight. Actually, maybe I can start with knight f7 check. With king c7, I develop the bishop with check. Yeah, all the minor pieces in play. There's an interesting idea to play c4 to defend the knight and block the attack against the rook. But I think I'm more interested in just establishing dominance with my knight. If takes, I'll take with queen. It's actually really close to mating. The king has no legal moves, controlling all these squares. But it's not easy to check the king. I mean, this doesn't really work. So I probably want to bring my queen in. I mean, maybe the bishop can come back and I can set up some battery. I could also take the knight. I really don't want to take the knight, though. I think I'll just play g4. Create the pawn chain. The knight is completely stuck on this side of the board. The bishop also stuck. Actually, most of black's things are stuck. Like these pieces can't do much either. Another idea is to play bishop g3, queen f4, and set up the battery, with the queen leading the way. Another idea is to somehow get the rook in, like a3 or even rook c1 and c3. So I'm not sure what to expect from black. Maybe knight a6. Maybe some queen move. I don't really want to trade queens. Like, I want to keep my queen to more efficiently checkmate. So if queen b5, I probably just move up. If knight a6, I might even go into d7 and then win the bishop. Although maybe it's not worth my time to capture such a piece. I think if I were black here, I would be fantasizing about sacrificing the rest of my pieces and somehow setting up some stalemate. But we're very far away from that. So we see knight a6. Let's go into d7. We have two outposts on the 7th rank. Not something you see too often. The king has a bit more room to breathe. And the bishop is defended. Not that I wanted to take it. So I'll play this. Just giving myself the option of queen f4. I'm just realizing this is a move. I don't think I made the realization that the knights are attacking each other. But if knight takes knight, there's bishop takes knight. Okay, pawn c5. Now, pawn c5 does weaken d5 a bit. So let's just attack it. I guess black could take and defend. I mean, at this point, I'm just trying to finish the game quickly. So if black takes, I probably get the rook in and try and clean up both pawns. Okay, knight c7 defends upon. But I can take the knight, removing the defender. I guess I could have also taken on c5 with check there. But okay, we're reaching the point where there's going to be a lot of ways to win. Queen c4 looks good. Just avoiding the queen trade. If the king goes back, then I probably go for g5 just to open the bishop. Maybe knight c5 first. Yeah, actually g5 could walk into this move. And knight c5, there's king b6. Okay, I think I'm still going to go for g5. So if queen takes f5, then I have rook f1. Okay, here I have bishop to f3. This king a7, it still takes a little bit of work. Where's the mate? There's actually no appealing checks here. Like black's queen does cover some key squares. So let's go for queen c6. Threatening mate in one. Actually threatening the rook as well. So two different mates in one. And that's checkmate. Okay. That was a pretty one-sided game. Opponent played maybe a slightly dubious opening, developing and then undeveloping a few times. Yeah, knight d5 would have been maybe a more justified way of playing. And then I wasn't sure if I was going to take or play bishop c4. Maybe bishop c4 is a bit more active. But yeah, had a very, very feel-good position after, especially after e6, f6. So let's keep it going up to 10:59. We'll do another. Playing no Somo something something. And okay, let's play in England. I'm still at the rating level where the England is a very playable opening. Can be very tricky and trappy. And I'm going for this line. Offering, oh no, my knight. Oh no, someone call an ambulance. But not for me. So this is a line I have not played in a while, but as we see, it's can be very easy for white to stumble into. The knight was not actually a free piece. There was a small point in time where I was playing this even against strong players and trapping some strong players with it. I do have a video on my YouTube channel explaining all the meta behind this line. So white's gonna maybe try and fight back down a queen. I think I can just take on c2 here. I could also leave my queen on d1 because the knight is pinned. So there is some logic to just playing knight c6. I actually think this is maybe a better way to start. Really just trying to hamper white's development. Okay, now it's probably time to take. I mean, I could, because white's not threatening a bishop check, so bishop's pinned. I could spend another move to develop. Yeah, bishop g4 actually might also be the better way to play. Okay, now that the rook's defended, the bishop is ready to develop, so now it's probably time to take on c2. And now b2's attacked. And the bishop is pinned to the king. And as a bonus, if this knight develops, I can take this knight and remove the only defender of the bishop. So this is going very, very well. Yeah, one of the keys to making the trap work is to play knight e7 almost as a pre-move. I don't think I quite pre-moved it, but played it as soon as I saw my opponent take on d6. Okay, now I can probably take on b2, essentially trapping the rook. If rook a3, I take the knight. Yeah, always got to do a double take for potential checks or discoveries. Bishop b5 is not check. And then I probably return to b2, attacking the rook and pinning the bishop and threatening this. Okay, bishop d3, so attacks the queen, actually double attacks the queen. Let's play queen b2. Actually, it looks like I'm winning more material because the rook's hit and I'm threatening to take and take. I should note, maybe it feels a little bit uncomfortable that the pawn is just sitting on the face of my king, but there's no rush to take it. In some sense, the pawn is kind of a shield. I probably do eventually want to take it and castle and get my rooks into play. I'm threatening knight. Okay, never mind. Didn't want to play knight e5. So let's take the pawn. A delayed bond cloud. And unpinning the knight, so threatening knight e5. And this is already looking very close to mate. Like if king g3, I take king e4. Yeah, there's actually a nice line to play queen b4, sacrifice a knight, and then the king is cut off on the 4th rank and the 6th rank. So now I can deliver mates, most likely with a g-pawn, or if king d5, then yeah, rook d8. Okay, rook d8, bishop d7. And I'll play pawn c6 checkmate. Get a Rosen trophy for this. Okay. Yeah, it feels wrong playing this opening trap, but this is kind of the nature of the speedrun, is to showcase some dirty opening tricks that can work against players around this rating level. And my opponent actually played like all of the most common moves. I think if you look this up in the Lichess database, like pawn takes pawn is most common, knight f3 is most common. And I haven't checked this in a while, but I'm pretty sure these captures are still the most played move for white. So yeah, it's an important lesson for anyone who plays d4 is not to stumble into this position where you take the knight. The better move for white is just to play this. And this over defends the queen, so then white is threatening to take. And white's up a pawn here after bishop recaptures. So, okay, up to 1068. I think I'll do one more to wrap up the episode. Okay. I am white this time. Let's play pawn e4. And we have pawn to d6. Let's play principal chess. Control the center. Ooh, is my opponent playing a hippo or a cow? Or whatever this is. Are they going to put all their pawns on the 6th rank? So against this sort of opening, I'm going to play a more active setup. essentially developing my minor pieces behind my pawns. And look to castle. And I will try and punish this setup as quickly as possible. The main breaks are either e5 or f5. e5 does allow knight d5. I'm going to hold off with pushing either pawn and play queen e1. This is a very typical idea when whites move the f-pawn to allow for queen g3. And here I think it's time to play e5. So now there's no knight d5. e4 is covered, even though black still goes into e4. I can take with bishop or knight. I think I'm more inclined to take with knight. The bishop combines so well with the pawns and dark squares. I'll take with queen, because if castling, it's mate in one. Also probably preparing f5 here. Actually, f5 now loses a pawn. So maybe I'll just grab more space, pawn c4, preventing queen d5. I think black is well aware that castling walks into too much trouble. Complete development, bishop e3. So we might see black go for castling queenside, in which case I probably want to attack on the queen side, so I'll start with a4, looking to play a5. I should mention here that f5 would almost trap the queen, if not for en passant. f5 not played. And c5 is really asking for d5. Let's do it. Center domination. And now this is a fork. Although if I play this, then there is a counterattack, bishop c6. And it does win material. I guess there's also takes, takes, takes. I'm looking for maximum punishment here. I'm a bit more inclined to start with this move. I guess then black could still sack for a couple pawns. Yeah, I don't want to spend too much time here. Okay, let's go for d6. I think this is the most straightforward move. Queen c6, so saving the queen, but yeah, allowing takes. And if queen takes queen, I can take the rook first with check and then recapture. And white is up, what, a rook and a bishop after the queen trade. Okay, it's cleanup time now. We'll take things and simplify. We'll take on a7. And this gives me a pass pawn. So very simple plan, pushing the pawn. Okay, black resigns. So felt like a pretty clean game. Hopefully a nice example of how to try and punish this sort of slow play in the opening. I think there are like a good number of players around this rating level who might play such opening setups. Maybe different branches of like the hippo or the cow. But against most setups like this, the setup for white with pawns on d4, e4, f4, knight on f3 and bishop on d3 is quite solid and aggressive. And as we saw in the game, it led to good things happening pretty early. So this brings me to 1077. I think this is a good place to wrap things up. So thanks everyone for watching. If you have questions, leave them below. And if you like the content, do subscribe. It does help the channel. And I'll see you guys soon.